I know it took me a little while to get used to getting back to 9:05 and being in the studio and all those things. So, hi. Traditionally, what I like to do is something like this to kind of start the week back if I can push the buttons correctly and remember how things are supposed to go. Do you remember any of this?
They blow for full time, and Atlanta United earns their first win of the 2026 season, 3-1 over Philadelphia Union.
Throw it in quickly. Maju stabs it. Torres chests it down. He'll turn the other direction on the left to Blante. Blante plays it up to Torres, and that is going to do it here in Athens. Atlanta United 2 with a 4-1 victory over Huntsville City, their second win of the 2026 season.
In theory, it's supposed to be a cold open, but it was kind of lukewarm. Welcome back to the studio space. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do on a Reaction Monday. Hopefully your power is on and you are able to function as you would like to. I know that the last couple of days, really last night in general here in the Southeast was pretty bad. I'm one of those guys, and I guess technically this is Opening Kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. I'm one of those guys that will watch weather reporting from around the region or around the country when there's something going on that might impact what's going on here in the Big 55 and here in the Southeast. I'm one of those weather nerds. And there's another reason that I watch it, in addition to seeing when is it coming, when do we need to be prepared, what are we doing, all those kinds of things. It actually helps me out when I'm on the air, because I can look at individuals and I can see how they're handling live situations and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's twofold. Obviously, health and safety is one, but for me, it keeps me sharp mentally and reminds me about how to do things in a live situation. So was watching all of that last night, knew that in the middle of the night or very, very early in the morning, the rowdy man was probably going to not be very, very, very happy. So he had all that prepared. And of course, it shows up. Was it 5:30 this morning? And naturally, he was not happy, but I'm just hoping that all of you have your power, that you're okay, and that things aren't flooded. I know that our back is probably flooded. I haven't looked, but it's probably flooded because everything comes west to east, and that patio is straight up west, staring at the western sky. So I know that that's going to take drying out for a couple of days. But everything is out the door, it looks like, and it's going to be very, very cold tonight. I think this might be one of our last runs of the very, very cold stuff. And so we'll keep an eye on it. But, yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody's okay this morning, that you got your power, that you can do what you can do, and that you are off and running this morning here to start another week. So here is the rundown, and legitimately wasting no time on the rundown. It's our buddy Abe Gordon. And Abe is all fired up, and he's ready to go. He's in early, so we'll go ahead and take him early, and we'll just say that what I just talked about was the Opening Kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. Rich from Brazil and Guatemala, rich beans and a rich aftertaste and everything. So if you're looking to start your day, start with our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Great partners here at SDH. You see them out in Atlanta. You see them out there with us in Atlanta. You see them here in the footprint. So start your day with them. Tell me how it is, because I'm not a coffee drinker. Now it's time to catch up with our buddy Abe and find out what's going on. Sir, I played the cold open before you came in, and it was a win for the first team and a win for the second team. So it's safe to say that it was a winning weekend across the board. Was it a winning weekend for you, sir?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, anytime we have that sort of performance to talk about, you can definitely chalk it up as a big old W, first 3 points of the season. And so here to break it down, but really happy with the performance Saturday afternoon.
All right, so lay it out for me. I was listening from 90 miles south, so I got my ear full of what was going on, but it was what you've been looking for when it comes to the progressions and the relationships and building out of the back and being very, very clinical and tactical and getting things flipped in a hurry. And it wasn't just the big names that were working; it was the folks at the back. You're sitting there and you're looking at, Album 88, Matias Galarza, you're seeing him getting engaged. You're seeing Mihaj on a great header to start a break the other way. So it was a bunch of different folks that were getting involved, and that's what you're looking for to keep everybody honest.
Well, look, the easiest explanation is your designated players felt dangerous, looked dangerous, were dangerous. I've been very critical of Latte Latte. I think we've all been very critical of Miguel Almiron since coming over as well. And we've all sat here and said, look, Alexei Miranchuk right now is your best designated player. And I don't know if this team is as good as it can be if that's the case with respect to Alexei and how good he is. You were always going to be capped by if Latte Latte's not dangerous, if Miggy's not dangerous, the team's not ultimately going to be that dangerous. And that was not the case on Saturday afternoon. Latte Latte was involved not only in the opening goal, but in moments before that in which he nearly broke through, but also in moments after that ultimately led to goals as well. Miggy, 3 primary assists. Again, don't necessarily need him to be a goal scorer. I mentioned this on the full-time report, the idea of being a playmaker and setting other guys up, if that's what's best suited right now, getting the job done. But it's been a long time since you've had those 2 guys, Latte Latte and Miggy, look and feel dangerous. And when they do, I think you get the sort of result that you got on Saturday afternoon. And now the question is, are they dangerous because progression and growth and learning and blah, 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 blah? Or are they dangerous because Philly is an absolutely dreadful team who, for whatever reason, decided to break it all down from last year's Supporter Shield roster? That's a question we start to find out this Saturday, right? You have to follow it up. This season is still not going anywhere if this was a one-off performance. And that's where the discussion and the intent really begins as we move forward is, okay, now that we've seen it, now that we felt it a little bit, is that based on poor opponent, which again, DC United is not, world beaters either. But can you run it back? Can you string together victories, especially because you're still in the early stages of this lengthy stretch with a number of games at home? But I will say this, John, it was the first time the team looked like they were having fun up front. Yeah. And I think you saw some joy from Latte Latte. I spoke with Nick Alifi, the pressure that had to come off of his shoulders when he was able to finally score, because he had some dangerous moments a week ago in the loss. He even had a dangerous moments. Andre Blake gets a really nice save, a foot to the ball, and prevents it from going in. And it's just like, man, what does this guy have to do to score? It wasn't even when he finally broke through, though, that you saw the joy. It was on the second goal. It was on Thomas Jacobs. I don't know if it was a dummy. I don't know if he got cross-footed. I don't know if the pass was behind him. Either way, he was involved. He drew defenders. The ball gets through. Jacobs wide open on the backside. And what's interesting to me is not to follow Jacob, who had the goal, or Miggy, who had the primary assist. Look at Latte Latte as he was kind of on the ground. Again, whether it dummied it or it cross-footed him, look at how he reacts to that goal. Look at how his energy is picking himself off the floor, running to Jacob, pointing to Miggy, smiling. It just feels like it feels like the first time these guys are having fun together. And I think you saw that from Miggy as well. I think you saw that from him, and you just kind of wonder the weight that was lifted off Latte Latte. I think the weight that's now been lifted maybe off of Miggy after hearing a couple of weeks of criticism. It just felt good on Saturday, and now the challenge is to recreate it, to do it again. But if you're going to have your 3 DPs be dangerous up front, that's going to help protect the midfield. It's going to help protect the defense, because the other team has to respect the attack coming the other way. First time they showed that this season at that level. And it'll be interesting to see how other teams now have to adjust if they can show that again.
Miggy, 3 primary assists, 5 chances created, 3 big chances created. Go ahead and hydrate. This is going to take a minute. 5 progressive carries totaling 115 meters, 6 key passes, 11 passes in the final third, 3 defensive contributions. Latte Lot, an ex-Abe of 1 1/3, 3 shots, 2 on target, 3 recoveries, 1 5 duels. AM 5'9", a .71 ex-Abe, 2 shots, 3 for 3 on long balls, 3 defensive contributions, and all the other stuff in the score sheet. So that's the abridged version of your 3 DPs busting out against Philadelphia. And you mentioned replicating it. One of the reasons that one of the dudes that they're going to have to replicate it against was part of Philly last year, and you're going to have Ty Barabota to have to deal with next week. So it's all of this seems to be, it's fun tying it together. But you mentioned the DPs and going further back, once again, you mentioned Jacob with his goal. Baez getting engaged, Galarza coming forward, and he was a part of one of those goals up the left-hand side off the quick 1-2 with Miggy coming up the left. Then, like I said, Mihaj with that clearance header directed toward a counterattack, which I thought was really smart. We'll hear from Enea Mihaj coming up in the next half hour. But there was a lot of three-dimensional, Vulcan chess going on here with all of these different parts that you're looking to see on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, it's also all the goals. Yes, they kind of came in a transitional moment, but they felt different.
Mm-hmm.
That first goal was kind of get the ball in front to Latte Loft, let him run onto it. It's one on the keep, and just let him use it's the sort of goal that he was brought in to score. There's a ton of green space in front of him. He's faster than the defender. He gets a step. He gets an angle. He picks out a spot. He buries it. But there were the other types of goals were kind of. I mean, the third goal was a quick break that turned into a 3-on-2, essentially, an extra man with your 3 DPs all being involved, Latte Loth and Miggy, and then eventually to Moranchuk and there. And then the other one was again where Latte Loth is getting into a dangerous spot. Miggy is picking him out. Again, I don't know if it was a dummy or if he kind of cross-footed him, but either way, it gets through the entire box and Jacob runs onto it wide open, and you got to give credit to Jacob for taking the space and being up there and expecting it to get through. I think you've seen at times, well, I've got to play defense here because Latte Loth is going to take a touch, and I don't know if it's going to go towards their goal or towards our goal. It gets all the way through, and you have to credit Jacob for being ready for that moment as well. And then the finishing, just in general, I know Latte Loth had one that was early on, got saved. Alexi had one that he'll tell you should have been buried. It just went wide of the far post. But beyond those 2 chances, they converted the opportunities that they had. And this goes directly into the fact that Philly did not. It's a completely different game, scarily so, in my opinion. A completely different game if that penalty kick just before halftime gets converted. It hits the inside post. It comes all the way across the face of goal, but stays out. And just before, in stoppage time, Atlanta United avoids that disaster. I think you carry that momentum, that boost of we're still leading going into halftime, and then you turn it around 90 seconds into the second half, and it's now 2-0. And I think – and I joked with Nick, those 2 moments were probably separated by 25 minutes of real time.
Yeah.
But essentially 2 minutes in terms of the game clock, 45 plus, and then into the 47th. And it's such a different game if that penalty kick's converted. I just don't know if you're able to score off the half that quickly. And so you kind of look at it as a game that had multiple turning points. I honestly think that was the biggest moment in the game. I just think from there, it's so different if you go to halftime 1-1. Ultimately, you didn't. You came out of half with the right mentality and eventually take a 3-0 lead. Unfortunate you couldn't hold the clean sheet, but you'll take the 3 points either way.
One other guy that I want to kind of focus in on here a little bit is Cooper Sanchez, who continues to just feel right at home. You don't even have to look at the DOB on the driver's license. Doesn't matter. You're ready to go. Tata's going to put you in, and Cooper continues to impress. His numbers across the board. And this was the interesting part to me. 29 to 36 overall for 81%, had one key pass and had one good cross. Then defensively, once again for Cooper, 8 defensive contributions, won all 3 tackles he was engaged in, had a pick, 4 clearances, 2 recoveries, was 5 of 10 on his duels on the day, half in the air, half on the ground. And, obviously had the one foul or, he wasn't going to get messed with either. But you end up with, once again, Cooper Sanchez at right-hand side of Jacob, Cooper Sanchez, and Alexi Miranchuk, because I put him in quotes, knowing the floating nature of the 3 DPs up top. That right-hand side's been pretty solid here recently.
Well, I think you start with the decision-making of Tata when he made the roster change. And you wanted to get Matías Galarza into the starting lineup, and you have a decision to make. Are you taking the young 17-year-old out in favor of Steven Alzate, who's a little bit more experienced in that scenario? And that was not the choice that Tata made. And I think Cooper Sanchez, it's a two-way street. I think Tata rewarded Cooper for what he's shown. And then once more, Cooper rewarded Tata for having that faith and making the decision to say, hey, you haven't done anything to lose your spot. Not that Steven Alzate did anything to lose his either. But a decision had to be made at some point if you're going to force Galarza into the starting lineup. And so it was rewarded, and you did see him involved. And I think that's the most difficult thing for someone at that age stepping into this level of play is not be too concerned with, I have to do this to make sure I'm involved defensively and not be involved in the attack. Or the flip side, I want to be involved in the attack at the loss of, but I'm not engaged where I need to be defensively. The ability, and look, this is what you always ask your midfield to do. Help in the attack, help in the defense, help bridge the gap. But the ability of a youngster to be able to do both of those so well and do it competently and not sacrifice one for the other, I think says a lot. And we've talked about it. We don't need to go through the whole list of guys, but the academy, the twos, has just done such a great job of preparing guys to come in. And I mentioned it doesn't matter that he looks young. He's not playing young. And he's not the first guy that we've said that about being given an opportunity and when called upon, doesn't feel like the moment's too big, isn't making mistakes you would see young guys make. It's really impressive that he's the next in line to do that. And I think proper of Tata to reward what he's seen and continue giving him those chances as well. I also want to talk about real quick, John.
Yeah.
And this is, I've been on my soapbox since day one or of this season, match day one at least. I'm a Stian Gregerson guy.
Right.
I just am. My preferred pairing was always going to be Stian and Mihaj, kind of what we saw a little bit towards the end of last season. Tata goes with Barakal. Barakal picks up a hamstring injury at some point, either in last match or in training this season, unable to go, and Stian is back there. And I do think we saw a little bit of rust in some of the delivery, some of the passing from Stian, but there's just something Stian has that Barakal can't give you. I think the size with which he plays with, I think the speed with which he plays with, it just feels safer. It just feels more secure to me. And again, I am biased. This is my first choice center back pairing. And I would like to see Stian continue in there, even if Barakal can go off of that hamstring. I just feel a little bit better back there, especially knowing that against a team that's not Philly, you probably are going to face some transition moments. And I think Stian is a little bit better built to handle those than Barakal if he's the one that's caught back as opposed to Mihaj. So, again, everyone can feel however they want about that. That's how I feel on it. And I'd like to see them continue with Stian and Mihaj.
By the way, Jacob and Stian Gregerson won the most aerials in the afternoon, 4 each. You also had Mihaj winning 3. What did you think of Atlanta United not bowing down to Philly in their game and standing up to them and winning the staring contest when it got to the extracurriculars?
Yeah, well, if anything, I do think that the moments near the end of the first half probably could have been handled a little bit better from all parties involved. I understand the first card. If you're going to give a penalty kick, you're certainly going to give a card there. Yeah. I think Tata picked one up. I think Latte Loth maybe at that same time picked one up, and I think there was a second one.
Well, then you had, I think it was Ricardo Rios, the other assistant.
Yeah, second one given to the bench. And so I don't necessarily know if that was handled as ideal as possible. But ultimately, I think you're able to remove yourself from all of those moments once you hit that second goal in the 47th minute, and once that game kind of turns into full game control from that moment on. Even before the third goal came 20 minutes later, once it's 2-0, you can kind of choose and dictate how it's played. We looked at the stats, as we always do, John, as you know, in our first segment of the post-game show, the full-time report, and you say, hey, well, look, they had, it was 54% or 56%, whatever it was. And I say, but that's what's going to happen when you get to dictate how you want to play. When you have a 2-goal lead that eventually is a 3-goal lead for the entirety, essentially, of the second half, the 2-goal lead, then you can cede possession and be comfortable in that moment. And so, yeah, I think once you got into that 2-goal lead, 2 minutes into the second half, then you start to say, all right, all we got to do is be a little bit smart here. We can't take a second yellow that gives us a red. We can't take a straight red. We've got to do everything to just make sure that we can ride this out. And they did, and rightfully so.
And we now get to be paired back up again, sir. Now that I have survived Macon, allegedly, in the high school basketball championships, it's you and me coming up this weekend with DC United on Saturday night.
I don't know. Nick Alifi said that you're not allowed back until they lose.
That's what I figured. I figured Nick would go that way. Yeah.
And I will say this: the full-time report was much more fun and much easier after picking up a full 3 points in a really nice showing. Where, and again, like, we just haven't been able to compliment some of the guys that we complimented. Like, I'd almost like to be in a situation where I'm like, all right, do we really want to compliment these guys as hard as we did after this one again? Like, that'd be great too. And I think the opportunity probably to spotlight on a couple of other guys would be nice, because myself specifically, maybe Nick a little bit less, but I was very on top of the performances of Latte Loth and Miggy, and also partially because I've been so harsh on them previously. And so I'd like to sit here and be like, all right, now we're seeing this pattern and we're seeing the start of something. I know DC United is not the best team in MLS, and so there's always going to be a little bit of this idea of like, all right, are they doing this because this team's figuring it out, or are they doing it because the opponent's dreadful? I'll be honest, it didn't make me feel great to know how the result went match day 1 against Cincinnati, and then see them get completely obliterated last night. And you kind of start to talk to yourself like, all right, well, maybe they're not that good. And so what does that mean for us going back? But we're a month past that. We can look forward. Let's just hope that this is the start of something, especially because you have a run of these home games for the next 5, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And kind of like the Hawks and the win streak they are on right now, there are opponents here that you should be beating night in, night out. And hopefully DC United is the next one.
And we will be hanging out on the mid-level after the match is over for the full-time report, after you have sampled things that I will not have had the chance to sample. And we're going to have it and see what happens when they go up against a better defensively DC United team coming up this weekend. As always, my friend, great to see you. We'll catch up with you again pretty soon.
Yeah, John, it's been too long that we talked about a nice, easy 3 points. So this has been fun. Absolutely. It's always fun, but this one specifically has been fun.
Attaboy, brother. We'll see you next time.
You got it.
All right, there goes Abe Gordon. Comes in early, rolls in for 20 minutes. He's out the door. Okay. I know that there has been some news that has come across our bows involving Chelsea and other news of the morning that we kind of need to get into. Let me go through the headlines quickly. So the rundown for the show, this half hour, we'll talk about Atlanta United and the Twos. We've got highlights. We got a lot of highlights. We have different versions of highlights. We've also got highlights from the Twos win last night. Maddie was on the call up in Athens. And so big win for the Twos again. Homestand continued, and they went 2 for 2, knocking off Huntsville City last night. And like I said, we got highlights. We got different highlights. We got posts. We're going to hear from a bunch of different folks. We're going to hear from Elias Baez. We're going to hear from Enea Mihaj. We're going to hear from Jay Fortune. After Jay got to participate in a match for the first time in 263 days, I think. I'll check the number. But we got all the highlights and all the posts coming up here in this half hour. Bart's going to join us at 10 o'clock. We do have a couple of cards and calls. I do have some questions involving rhythm, whistle fatigue, the tugging of the jersey, and whether it's called or not called, those kinds of things, and looking at all of that activity. And we do have Yanks abroad that we can get into as well with him, and a really cool moment in the NWSL that we need to get into with Bart. He's going to come up at 10 o'clock, and then we'll wrap up once again with news and anything else that we've missed and get you ready for the rest of the day. Soccer over there tonight at 8 o'clock. And I think it is safe to say that this was by far the worst week I have ever had in Picks of the Week. I'll say it right now. I was bloody awful. It was not even close. That's horrendous. Yeah, that's awful. So I won one match out of the 8, and I had no clue what where I could find the info on the tiebreaker. If anybody can find the info on the Uzbekistan Super Cup foul total, that'd be great. And because I found that there was 2 yellows, and it looked like it was one of the most uninspiring games you could have ever seen. 1-0 final, 2 yellow cards, and I have no idea how many fouls were called because that was the tiebreaker. For those that are not up to speed, what we do is during soccer over there, we do a Picks of the Week segment. And the Discord, they have their own competition, and it's knocked down, drag out. And we have our competition on the hosting side, and I'm awful. And this is one of the most awful weeks that I have had. Literally, I won 1 out of 8, and I don't know what the total was in fouls, considering I went low for a game that finished 1-0 that looked completely and totally unappealing. So we'll be back at it again 8 o'clock tonight for soccer over there, and maybe I'll win more than 1. So we'll see what happens. All right, so we'll wrap up the news also 10:30, get you ready for the rest of the day and get you ready for everything else going on in the world of soccer. And we do have a John Textor update. That will be in the second. It'll be in the 10:30 half hour. We do have a John Textor update. So we'll get you into that. But as of 9:15, so 17 minutes ago, it's a developing story. News already broke, so let's do this. Ornstein and Liam Toomey, when it's Ornstein and, that's never good. Chelsea been handed a suspended 1-year ban from signing first-team players, given a £10 million or $13.7 million fine from the Premier League relating to breaches of financial rules during Roman Abramovich's time as owner. That's timely. Ban suspended over 2 years, meaning Chelsea will still be able to register senior players if they do not commit any further breaches. No sporting sanction, such as a points deduction, has been imposed. Club have also been banned from registering academy players for a period of 9 months. Well, shoot. All they do is buy players anyway. Do they have an academy? I say that somewhat tongue firmly planted in cheek. The restriction, which comes into immediate effect, only applies to youth players that have previously been registered with another Premier League or EFL club's academy, not any current players, international players, or players who are registering on professional terms. It also does not apply to players who are applying for their first registration at under 9 or otherwise. Under 9. First team charges relate to incomplete financial reporting and missed payments from 10 years ago. What was it we said about timeliness? And would not have impacted the club's compliance with the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Chelsea self-reported the information to the Premier League as well as UEFA and the FA themselves with that and their, quote, exceptional cooperation throughout the investigation, end quote, considered significant mitigating factors by the league. Chelsea came out with a statement. Fine levied on Chelsea is similar to the punishment they were given by UEFA in 2023. Chelsea was fined €10 million at the time. UEFA said settled the matter. Academy charges separate from the ones at senior level and relate to breaches of youth development rules between 19 and 22 prior to the takeover by Bowley Clearlake. Chelsea previously banned from signing any players for 2 windows between 2019 and 2020 after breaching FIFA's regulations on the signing of players under 18 before it was reduced to 1 on appeal. Punishments handed out by the Premier League are separate from the FA investigation that saw Chelsea charged with 74 alleged breaches of its rules governing payments to agents, intermediaries, and third-party investment in players between 2009 and 2022 before Roman Abramovich sold the club. That process remains ongoing, according to the Premier League in their statement. Once again, that is Ornstein and Toomey from The Athletic. So you get that this morning also from Chelsea. So, yeah, 10 years ago. 5 years ago, and then stuff between 09 and 22. And, yeah, the wheels of justice in the Premier League, not the most swift. Joan Laporta, as of last night, has been reelected as president of Barcelona. There's the shot of him with the hand raised in the air. So Joan Laporta, remember what he ended up doing was he resigned because you couldn't campaign and be president all at the same time. And so he resigned, he put in a guy to replace him while he could run, then was reelected president of Barcelona. Can't wait to see the financials on that one. Iran's women's soccer team, we got news there. They exit Malaysia after an asylum reversal, according to the AP, and this came out this morning before we went on the air. Iranian women's soccer team set to leave Malaysia Monday night, local time, ending days of uncertainty after most of the 7 squad members who sparked a diplomatic furor, this is the AP's words, seeking asylum in Australia, reversed their decisions, rejoined the team in Kuala Lumpur. AFC, meaning the Asian Football Confederation General Secretary Windsor John, told the AP the team's departure Monday was arranged by the Iranian embassy. He said the AFC, which is supporting the Iranian team in Kuala Lumpur, was told they are flying to Oman, but that isn't their final destination. He was not aware of their full travel plans. Asked if the Confederation is satisfied that the women will be safe back in Iran, Windsor said that both the AFC and FIFA will check up on them regularly with the Iranian Football Federation, quote, as they are our girls as well, end quote. Squad flew from Sydney to Kuala Lumpur on the 10th after being knocked out of the Women's Asian Cup in Australia, initially leaving behind 6 players and a support staff member who had accepted protection visas. 4 players and the staff were since rejoined, latest flying in on Monday. No reasons have been given for the changes of heart. The Iranian diaspora in Australia blames pressure from Tehran. Windsor said at a news conference earlier that his confederation had not received any direct complaints from players about returning home. Despite media reports, their families in Iran could face retaliation for the team failing to sing their national anthem before the opening match. And that goes into all the previous discussions. 2 players remain in Australia. Iranian authorities have welcomed the women's decisions to reject asylum as a victory. Iran squad arrived in Australia for the tournament shortly before the war in the Middle East back on February 28th. Let's see. Assistant Immigration Minister Matt Thistlethwaite, Australian Assistant Immigration Minister, described the women's plight in Australia as a very complex situation. Those who stayed in Australia have been moved to an undisclosed safe location, receiving assistance from the government and the Iranian diaspora community. Let's see. Quote from local political scientists, Iran's Tasnim news agency said the players who left Australia are returning to the warm embrace of their family and homeland. Let's see. Embassy and National Capital of Canberra remains staffed. And there you go. So the Iranian women's team still has 2 that are left over from the 7 that requested asylum in the first place. So you've got that this morning as well. Let's see. Ben Jacobs reporting more on the fine. And let's see if there's anything else on that. We'll talk about that one later. Okay, I think we're kind of caught up on the newsy aspect of everything. But like I said, John Textor deserves his own update section. That's going to be like at 10:30. So we're going to get into that. Bart Keeler joining us top of the hour. Let's get into highlights and posts. And there's a lot of it. Trust me, there's a lot of it. Let's go to Atlanta United. We'll start there. How about that? So we'll start with Atlanta United and what went down in that matchup. For Atlanta United, obviously, you had moments early on, and it was close calls and such. But, he says, first goal on the board goes to Latte Lot in the 28th minute. And here is the call from Mike and Jason, courtesy of 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app.
I would love to see the referee, if you're not going to go yellow there, stop the play, go to the player, warn him. That's a cheap shot.
And there was no play on the ball. What a ball by Sanchez. Tap forward to Almiron. Sent down the middle. It's Latte Lot. Would be the keeper. Shot. Score! team goal in transition by Atlanta United, and they had their first lead of the 2026 season.
That is how you stick it to a team that is taking cheap shots on your players. Cooper Sanchez with a great outlet ball, combination on the left side, and you free Latte Lot, who gets 1v1 with Blake, and Manu puts it home. That's how you silence the haters. That's how you answer back to a team that is trying to play bully ball. That's how you take the lead on a Saturday afternoon.
And yes, Abby is quick to remind me that it's from a WAOK 1380 and the Odyssey app. So I know that version now. It took me a second. It's just old hat to go 92.9 the game. All right. So then, since it was on television and it was on both Apple and Big FOX, we're going to go to the Apple version. The reason why is because one of our OGs got to call play-by-play on that one. Here's Jess and Lori Lindsay on Apple TV, courtesy of them and Major League Soccer.
Higher up the field, but also in a little bit more of a lower block. So both teams just have to stay the course, continue to fight, continue to rely on some of their bigger players. Great run from Latte Lot.
And we're on to Latte Lot. Latte Lot through on goal! He breaks the deadlock! Is off and running. Atlanta United lead 1-0.
Would go down the far side, but instead he just opens himself up. But it's a wonderful combination play to build out. These are the moments they're looking for. Instead of going short, they opt to go long. But that touch from the wide area just sets everything up just on a platter. Then they can break out quickly. But middle of your screen, that run right there from Latte Lot disrupts the two defenders. They don't know exactly where to pick him up. Opens up the space for Almiron to play him right in. And then just in this moment, so calm, waits for Blake to go to ground, and then just a smooth pass into the back of the net.
1-0 at the break. So then, as the point was made from Abe Gordon, the PK save on the post with the Milanowski with the shot goes off the post and goes through the goal mouth, and it stays at 1-0. That was the score at the break. And so then second half, Atlanta United really wasting no time to pick up goal number 2. And here is Mike and Jason on the call, WAOK 1380 and the Odyssey app.
It'll bounce to Baez at the left halfway line for Atlanta. Flick down the middle to Almiron. Square to Galarza now on the near touchline. Back to Almiron. Return to Galarza on the left wing. Popped ahead to Baez. Kick back to Galarza to Almiron, left side of the 6. Here's his cross. Latte missed the shot. Rebound. Score! Thomas Jacob! For the second time today, Atlanta United burns Philadelphia in transition, and it's 2-0.
Galarza, Almiron, the Paraguayan connection. They bring Baez into it. The cross. Latte Lot can't quite get there to it, but Thomas Jacob, the right back, crashing on the back post, puts it on frame, beats Blake. 2-0 Atlanta.
And so, and to the point that was made by both Abe and Jason there on the call, I think if Latte Lot was either wrong-footed, as Abe says, or if it was intentional that he let it go through, I think that Latte Lot's presence at the near post distracted Andre Blake and had him flinch to his right. And so you see Latte Lot coming down at 900 miles an hour to the near post, and he eventually does, slide. But seeing that out of the corner of your eye, you are predisposed pretty much to look to your right, or at least and fade to your right. Thomas Jacob coming down the far post. Pass goes through, slam dunk for Jacob, and it's 2-0, or 1.5. Here's what makes it 2-0. Here's Jess and Lori Lindsay on Apple TV and Major League Soccer. If I hit the button.
Galarza has a very free roll, drifts up anywhere as he gets it back off the ball of Baez, forward to Almiron. Almiron leaves it back post, and it's put in the back of the net by Jacob.
build-up goal on this near side. They use the press. They use the ability of Philadelphia to jump too quickly and with so much energy to their advantage. Almiron then running after it. He's the one that starts it, but then gets it back. I initially thought ATLUTD should have put this one away, but can't make good contact. But then you have the numbers. Once you work it, three-player combination, it allows for others to join in.
There you go. That made it 2. And so then you end up at that point, 47 minutes in, then 20 minutes later, it's goal number 3, and it's Alexei Miranchuk's turn to put it in the back of the net. Once again, heading back to our friends at WAOK 1380 and the Odyssey app. Here's Mike and Jason breaking down AM 59.
Hoyos on the right side of his 18. Line drive clear. Spiked away from the top of center circle by Lukic, then headed forward by Mihaj to Almiron, who flicks it ahead to Latte Lot in a 1v2 coming down the middle. He'll dribble off to the right, 3 teammates in support. He'll pass to Almiron at the top of the arc, cut back pass, Miranchuk, shot, score! A third transition goal for Atlanta United. And they've got the 3-0 lead in the 68th minute.
It's not going to show up on the score sheet, but the most important play of that entire sequence is Enea Mihaj towering through with a powerful header at the top of the 18, a statement kind of header. That springs the break. Latte Lot reads it so well. He's not going to be able to win that foot race. He holds it up. They connect the dots. Miranchuk tucks it home, but it's Enea Mihaj. And I'll go back to what I've said for about 20 minutes. This team has been under fire. They've been under pressure. They were getting not really outplayed, but definitely out-territoried by Philadelphia for most of the second half. Resilient, resilient, resilient. They have shown you that they can fight. They have shown you that they can take a punch, and they have shown you that they can counter-punch pretty effectively. Tata Martino and his way of playing is starting to be understood by this team in 2026.
1380 AM, WAOK in the Odyssey app, Mike and Jason. So let's go to the flip side, 2.5. So let's make it 3. Here's Jess and Lori Lindsay, Apple TV and Major League Soccer on the go by AM 59.
It's a physical duel over the top.
Great touch.
Latte Lot will come forwards. Here's Latte Lot. Has bodies flooding forward in 5 stripes jerseys. Almiron into the box for Miranchuk. A deadly counter-attack from Atlanta United. It's 3-0 at the Mercedes-Benz.
Just watch Almiron in this first touch. They win it, they lull you to sleep, but that first touch right there to know exactly where Latte Lot is, allow him to go off on this run, draw a few defenders, allows the play to develop, but that second ball from Almiron, he has been exquisite all game long when it's mattered most. Little crafty little ball right into the path of Miranchuk, and then it's just off to the races, just going to slot that one home so simply to make it 3 and increase the lead even more.
The ball between and the ball from Miggy to Miranchuk through the legs of Westfield was insane. First off, once again, where Jason mentions Mihaj starting with the header that kind of sends things in transition. Well placed, well timed, a lot of authority behind it. And that made it 3. Before we get out of here, I wanted to, when I asked Abe specifically about the team standing up to Philadelphia and their shenanigans, not taking any ish from anybody. Here's a moment late that personifies it. Remember, you had a player on a yellow at the time. Matt Edwards comes in as a late sub, and here's how it sounded. Not taking any guff or anything, whatever words you want to use from Philly.
They called the foul.
They did call the foul. He had it anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
they did call the foul.
Yeah, like that's an easy call. Siri Larson goes over the top of the Atlanta defender and then connects with Ojos.
Look at this. Ojos and Damiani now arguing.
Because Damiani's a clown, and he's been a clown ever since he came into this league, and he fits Philadelphia perfectly, and he knows he's not going to win a match, so he's going to try to cause a problem.
Now, Jakob's got to be careful. He's playing on a yellow. Damiani went chest to chest with him, and Matt Edwards did a good job of intervening and breaking them apart.
Yep. Matt Edwards protecting Jakob. That's really good for Matt Edwards. That's great awareness for Matt Edwards.
You don't necessarily worry about Jakob getting a second yellow, but you would then worry about the suspension that he would get for the next match.
I would worry about the second yellow because I don't want to see Jakob miss a match here the way he's been playing.
That's my point.
Yeah.
This match is in the bag, but you don't want the suspension.
Yeah.
Now, Rich is in this morning, and I pose these questions to you. First and foremost, and we've had this, I remember that we did the deep dive on the Philadelphia Union ownership group, and Rich was the catalyst in this. And the time that we got to spend breaking down the ownership group and their approach during the Jim Curtin administration, it's part of what we do. But Rich, my questions for you are based this way. It goes back to who Atlanta gets to see this upcoming weekend in Ty Barabo, and having Barabo sent on his way. Barabo then scores against Philly early in the season and celebrates for, a good 30 seconds after the fact. I thought that bringing in Milan Olaski was good business. I don't know why Olaski didn't stay in San Diego. I don't know what the dynamic was there. Just imagine what San Diego would be with Milan Olaski. But there was a difference of opinion. Olaski goes back home, goes back on loan long enough to pack his bags, and goes to Philly. I thought that was a great pickup. Then getting rid of Ty Barabo, and then obviously losing Kai Wagner, has exposed issues at the back. And it does not seem, and like I said, this is just me from down here in our conversations with Dave Leno that we have occasionally. I wonder, just the level of reinvestment. Are we seeing that level of reinvestment lacking again? For a team that right now in the Eastern Conference is at the bottom of the East, and have issues scoring since they have only scored twice in 4 matches this year. They've given up 7. They're at the bottom of the table. The only team in the Eastern Conference not to have registered a point in their first 4 matches this year. So, Rich, I ask this because we are here and you are not. I ask about the ownership group once again, what they were thinking in the offseason. And I understand the notion of sending folks on their way while they are valuable commodities so you can get a lot of return on them that you wouldn't be getting otherwise, especially at the end of a contract. Remember, we always talk about controlling the asset. And Philadelphia has done that. And the lineup for Philly, and the twos discussion may be postponed a little bit here. Lineup for Philly: Westfield, Harriel, Macania, and Ndinga with Blake in net. Vasilev, Lukic, Danley, Jean-Jacques, and Milan Olaski, and then the 2 up top, Stash Korjanowski and Bruno Damiani. Like I said, the absence of Kai Wagner and having Oluwatu Macania now taking over that role. You don't have Glesnes and you don't have Kai Wagner anymore. Your 2 tall timber center backs are gone. You now have Nathan Harriel and Oluwatu Macania while they are trying to grow into Major League Soccer. And so right now you have a team that has scored 2 goals and given up 7. They can be beaten over the top if the speed is there, getting around Ndinga and Macania specifically. And I've got to look at heat maps to find out just off the top of my head where the attacks were most of the time against Philadelphia. But like I said, Rich, I ask you as the resident Union person here, that is one of our OGs, is this the second round of what we were discussing before, where you're not replenishing and you're hoping that the Academy and Union 2 will help you out in that process? that can, give you those kind of players that you hope they will develop into. So that's, like I said, that's me asking this. So your expertise and feedback is always welcomed here. For a team like Philly to drop off this quickly, in a way, it's reminiscent of what Bradley Carnell had happen to him in St. Louis, where you have that run in that first year. And like I said, and this is, I'm not comparing front offices, although I probably should. So you have the big run that Carnell makes in St. Louis. Then the league adjusts itself to St. Louis. Bad start in the following season, and Carnell is let go. I don't think that's going to happen here, but what I'm anticipating is, once again, you have a great year with Carnell, then you have a drop-off, and this is strictly personnel talking. And I wonder what the level of patience is going to be with Bradley Carnell if this is to continue. So that's kind of where I'm at. We mentioned Enea Mihaj and Elias Baez. So after the match, speaking of Enea Mihaj, here's the conversation that Maddie and Jason had with Enea Mihaj.
You good? All right. Questions for Enea. We start with 92.9.
Enea, Philly's a really difficult team to play against, and Atlanta brought the fight right to them. What does this performance show about the character of this team?
Yeah, I think we performed very well, all the team today. We was really well prepared. I want to give the credit to the manager and all the staff, because it was really like whatever they say, it was appearing in the game, So many long balls, fighting tall guys in front of them, and then we defend well. We won a lot of second ball. We can win even more, but that's, I think, make the difference. And we are very happy, and I can say a little bit released also, to get the first win of the season.
Especially with how Philly does play, a very direct style too, with that high pressure. How do you think the team handled it, especially defensively, and winning a lot of those moments?
Yeah, we was really ready and focused about that, and we went strong to the duels, and we won most of them. And a little bit pity for the goal we received. We wanted a clean sheet, because that's give even more confidence to the team. But we scored 3 goals, especially the first one I really like, because it was a build-up, from behind. Many players participate, and it's something that we work, and it's something like show to us that what we try to build, even if it's risky sometimes, we lose sometimes the ball, but it's something that in the future gonna help us a lot, and it's something that also the fans enjoy to see.
How much did Baez and Jacob help you guys today, getting that width out wide?
Yeah, Thomas is a guy really good in the physical part, like fast, strong. Also, in the duels, he is strong in individual duels, and today it was very important, like the fullbacks, to be ready to press the opposite wingers, because if you let them cross easy, in this moment you can lose one duel and then you can receive a goal. It's really hard to defend 10 to 10, So it's something, as I say, collective, and we did well today.
How much more did today?
So we mentioned, Enea Mihaj and Jason mentioned Elias Baez. Here's their conversations that they had once again. Post-game scrum, Maddie and Jason, Elias Baez. Perhaps if you were to hit the button, John.
Elias, how important is it to get a result after all the hard work you guys have put in so far this season?
¿Qué tan importante fue sacar un resultado después de tanto trabajo que han hecho?
No, creo que lo veníamos buscando. Por ahí no se nos dieron los primeros partidos, pero creo que hoy fuimos merecidos ganadores del partido.
I think that's what we've been working towards. I think today we're able to put it together, and I think we deserve the win tonight.
You and Tomas were so important in stretching the field. Is that something that you saw against Philadelphia would help exploit them?
Tú y Tomás tuvieron mucho éxito en dar profundidad al equipo. Si es algo que pensaron que pueden hacer en este partido.
Sí, bueno, es lo que planteamos, de por ahí cerrar un poco los extremos para fijar a los laterales, los centrales, y pasar nosotros con Tommy, dar la profundidad del equipo, y creo que llegamos bastante para hacer el gol, creo.
Yeah, that's something that we had planned for this match. I think they were able to close down our wingers a bit more, and that left more space for Tomas and I to be able to get forward and help stretch the defense that way.
Gracias.
Elias,
And there you go, Elias Baez, and we'll come back and we'll talk twos and other things after our visit with Bart, because we actually do have some gear news to get into with Bart. And so with apparently either Pro or somebody that is getting after him, maybe Chelsea or somebody, I don't know. So here's Bart. Look at you.
Well, we're just on the phone today, John. I'm not sure what's wrong with my machine, but hey, we're gonna try to just get through it.
No, this is perfect. There are no wobbles. The Russians are not invading and causing video issues, and so I will accept this gladly. Before the show came on this morning, and I didn't necessarily think that we were going to be having a gear discussion.
An 8 a.m. drop on a Monday is crazy work.
U.S. Soccer and Nike unveiling new national team kits ahead of the 26 World Cup. And so here is said release. Collection features 2 distinct jerseys, a Stars kit and a Stripes kit, alongside a goalkeeper kit. The keeper kit builds on the, quote, Hollywood goalkeeper concept first introduced in December 25, a design created, and this is U.S. Soccer, this is not me. A design created to bring glamour back between the posts and celebrate the individuality of goalkeepers. Together, the designs create a unified look for the U.S. Soccer national teams and give fans across the country a way to show their support. Arrowhead Technology, Dave Wright, CCO of U.S. Soccer. And this was the interesting part, was the player-led design. Nike worked together with the players in the design process. Athlete feedback was there to authentically represent the team's identity. And so each jersey features an inner pride mark inside the collar. Detail symbolizes the internal motivation for players carrying on the field. So it was really interesting to see that they discussed things with players and stuff. And your video disappeared on it. So I don't know what happened.
I had to reset it. It was and we're good.
I was like, wait a minute, what did I do this time? But yeah, they went to the players to kind of help things out this time.
So that was interesting. I haven't been able to dig in fully into Pablo Mauer's piece, but it seems like, the players were a little disheartened by the kits they had in 2022. And so they had a hand, if not at least some sort of input into what we would be wearing this summer. I'll just say this, John. The kit I am wearing, if you can see, is I think a better kit.
It's still dark. I can't see you, sir.
I came prepared. If you can see it.
Yeah, but you can't. No, I can't. I can't see it right now.
I can see me. I can see you. Anyway, I'll just say this. Anyway, I had my camera. My camera says we're good. I don't know what's going on there.
Fine, okay, fine, whatever, great. Then my camera's messed up and the output's messed up because I'm looking at like both versions and it's
I don't know.
Whatever. Okay, the Russians invaded again, so fine.
I don't. Well, anyway, I don't know what's going on here. I thought I'm good on my end. I see me. I see you. I don't know, John.
Well, maybe it's just me dealing with maybe Chrome versus whatever you're on. So I don't know.
I think the current blue kits that the teams are wearing, the men and women that debuted last year, the pinstripes kit, are great. And I do think that these blue kits are a little bland. The pattern is subliminal, but it's also very boring. It's just stars and a pretty straightforward pattern. I do think that the stripes kit looks fantastic. I was a little worried with a lot of angles, a lot of waves, a lot of lines. I think they do look good now that you're seeing them on players and you're seeing them on mannequins and you're seeing them next to beer cases and all the leaks that we've seen recently. I don't know. But I do think that the stripes kit looks great, right? That was definitely something that I think we've been wanting as fans for a while. We've been wanting the hoops. We've been wanting those stripes to represent the U.S. flag. And finally, we are getting it. My hot take has always been that had the U.S. qualified for the tournament in 2020 or 2018, and we remember those kits then were kind of like the half stripes going across and kind of had a gradient and like a weird pattern mixture. They weren't my favorite, but I think they would have sold a lot better. They did not sell well, John, because I don't know if you know this, but people don't want to buy kits to a tournament you're not playing in.
Yeah, I'm thinking, just a thought maybe.
And I think had they qualified, those kits would have sold better. And Nike, I think at that point in time, was trying to lean into the stripes a little bit more. 2017 Gold Cup had the red and blue stripes, my favorite kit ever. Then you had the stripes for 2018. So I think that was kind of the unfortunate, another unfortunate collateral damage of the 2018 failure. Thanks, Jurgen Klinsmann. And now we're getting back to that. And I think these will sell really well. I think they'll look great on fans and stands, and I think they'll look really cool on the players on the field.
Okay, since we're talking national team, let's go ahead and do Yanks abroad while we're here. And
well, John, can I make one final note,
sure.
A snarky comment?
Sure, go ahead.
And they'll debut here in Atlanta. Because Atlanta influences everything.
Well, yeah, AIE, as always. And that should be without discussion. Atlanta influences everything without discussion. That's how this rolls. Okay, Yanks abroad. As I agree with you, I will second your opinion there. Folarin Balogun scores in his fourth straight. Monaco beat Brest. I'm glad Micah Richards is not around. Continuing Monaco's turnaround, Les Monégasques are now unbeaten in their last 8 league matches. They've won their last 5. Balogun's 8 league goals, most since he joined Monaco, 14-4 across all comps. Now, in England, Tyler Adams did not travel with Bournemouth to Turf Moor to face Burnley in a goalless draw as a precaution, as he felt something this week. I don't know what the emote was, but he felt something. And Anthony Robinson, Jedi goes 90 minutes, gets a yellow in the goalless draw with Forest. Chris Richards plays 90 in a goalless draw with Leeds. Brendan Aronson plays 45 in the goalless draw at Crystal Palace. England was that way. So we mentioned Balogun, Weah 90 minutes in a win against Auxerre. Mark McKenzie 90 minutes in a shootout at Metz. Tanner Tessman 90 minutes in a yellow in the goalless draw at Le Havre.
Kid.
Yeah. And so L'Equipe on Balogun, quote, scoring for the 4th time in 4 matches after escaping Junior Diaz in the heart of the penalty area, the American continues to lead Monaco's attack. Always available, he was, as usual, invaluable with his back to goal. That's a double a positive, by the way. I don't know if you can ever do that in English without English teachers getting after you. As always available, comma, he was, comma, as usual, comma, invaluable. That's a double a positive. I don't know if that's possible. Less incisive after the break, substituted for Beereth in the 70th, who helped revitalize AS Monaco. Germany. James Sands ruled out for the remainder of the Bundesliga season following surgery on a left ankle injury suffered in a match against Eintracht Frankfurt. Leads All-Americans in the Bundesliga, minutes played in just under 2,000 and starts. He'd been playing on loan from NYCFC. A lot of low grades this week. Scally, Tillman, Lund, Downs, Leonard Maloney came on for a cup of coffee. 5 other players were on the bench. Raina Banks, Cole Campbell, Sands obviously out for the season. Kevin Paredes is injured. Christian Pulisic won the full 90 for the first time since November 1st. Shut out by Lazio in a loss. Second defeat in 4. Benja Kremoski exited Parma's match after 11 minutes. Non-contact injury diagnosed as a ruptured external meniscus in his left knee. Good Lord. McKinney goes 90. Pulisic goes 90. Kremoski gets injured. Musa's on the bench. Then, let's see, Spain. Obed Vargas made his first start for Atletico de Madrid. Alex Freeman, a cup of coffee. Johnny's on the bench. Diego Coken's on the bench. Vargas got a cup of coffee, and we'll get into the domestics in a bit. So what did you think about Yanks abroad?
Well, I think the most important thing is former Arsenal product, Folarin Balogun, is scoring.
Yeah.
There's my Arsenal.
There's your A word. Exactly.
I do think that Balogun's form, a little bit tied. I think it's tied to Monaco's resurgence. I liked how L'Equipe kind of talked about that. I would say one is pushing the other more than Monaco's overall resurgence is pushing Balogun. I think Balogun has been really instrumental to that team getting back on its feet, getting back to being what I think they are, which is one of the top clubs in the French league. Not in France, because that's not how things work. But, I think they are riding Balogun's great form into that upward trajectory. I also, yes, I laugh about Tanner Tessman picking up a yellow card. He's a defensive midfielder. That's his job sometimes, so good for him. But I think we do need to kind of talk a little bit about Kromashki, because that is a really unfortunate injury for a kid who had started to actually play soccer, right, for a new club after the change, going from Miami to Parma. I'm not quite sure what the meteorological differences or the climate adjustments are. Hopefully he's still enjoying somewhat beachside weather. But at the same time, it really does suck for him to once he's finally looks like he might be playing and being a feature of this club, albeit a small one, he picks up a pretty major injury. That's gonna be tough.
Apparently today the high in Parma is 66, and so they are
better than here.
Yeah, and it's clear, by the way. Sunny and 66 degrees in Parma, Italy today for Benjamin Kromashki to enjoy. It feels like 65 with the wind chill. So,
where's the sounder for Nick Alifi to come in here and give us an education on the?
That's it, dude. That'll be on Soccer Over There tonight. We got to tease it there. So yes, with the 66 and with the wind chill 65. So he's dealing with that today in his rehabilitation. Yanks not abroad. It was weekend review. Brian White got 2 of the 6 for Vancouver as they Drake Callender, after about the first 4 goals, looked like he just wanted to be any place else other than there. He was over everything. Sebastian Berhalter goes 65, got a goal and 2 assists in the same game. Jack McGlynn gets an assist. Matt Turner played 90 in the 6-1 win over FC Cincinnati. That was another strange one. Matt Freese goes 90 in a win against Colorado. Tim Ream went 90 in a draw with Messi and friends. Schulte and Brady go 90 minutes and their teams lose. Nathan Harriel, we know what happened with him. Zawadzki in a loss. Arfston in a loss. Celentano in a blowout. Miles Robinson in a blowout played 60. Timothy Tillman had a cup of coffee against St. Louis City. Christian Roldan, cup of coffee second half against San Jose. Diego Luna comes in for 20. And again, the win against Austin. De La Torre was injured and did not play in the matchup for Charlotte. And Tristan Blackman injured and did not play in the blowout for Vancouver against Minnesota. What about Yanks not abroad?
I do want to. I think we talked about him earlier. I think we should highlight a little bit Cooper Sanchez for a fantastic game on Saturday. Screw all the rest of the folks. Let's talk about our homegrown Cooper Sanchez making waves. Look, I think okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to slide a little bit into some Atlanta United talk, so I do apologize.
No,
I think Cooper's performance.
What we always tell folks, if you want to come in, let's be civil about it and have solutions and an honest discussion. That raised voices and raging and rage baiting is not what we do. I want to go about things calmly, logically, as best we can, and talk through things when we have questions and ask questions of ourselves in as much as we do Atlanta United. But please proceed.
I think Cooper's performance on Saturday was basically a mirror for the rest of Atlanta United this season. I thought he struggled in his first 3 matches. Now, I don't think that's his fault, because the kid is, still planning prom and not, fully invested in the
man is 17.
He's worried about getting a date to prom. Let's let him have those thoughts and fears right now before the real world sets in. But it was a struggle the first couple games. Again, I don't think that's his fault. The team struggled. Finally, Cooper, which I will be the first to say, I was like, why is Cooper starting? I take it back. It made sense. I liked the way that J. Sam Jones over at Five Stripe Final Foot it. When you play Philadelphia, it's a match of car crashes. And I think Cooper thrived in that environment because he does play quickly. He is quick himself, and he's able to cover ground. And I thought he was the perfect addition to this lineup. Second perfect addition other than Steven Gregerson, because he's able to run. But I thought Cooper himself was really instrumental in keeping things at a very high tempo, which was needed against a Philadelphia team that knows one speed, and it's 150 miles an hour. So I really thought Cooper took a big step forward this weekend of looking like a useful MLS midfielder, and I think that's really important. Now, some other Yanks at home, but still abroad. At home, but still abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Sebastian Berhalter. I am willing to eat the criticism I've made of you or the disbelief I've made of you if you continue to produce goals, creating actions, whatever you want to call it, like you have this season. And I think that he is making the most of what he learned last year, being a feature of the national team throughout the entire year.
Okay. As I sit here and try to look at other, trying to do like 19 things simultaneously. Okay.
I can keep talking Atlanta United if you want me to.
Oh, no.
I'll vamp.
No, you're good. No, there's nothing wrong with you vamping. Absolutely not. Okay. Other stuff that I wanted to get into with you this morning. It was a really cool moment involving the NWSL on the weekend.
The 2 red cards to the expansion team.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that. But when you get to see Angel City,
mm-hmm.
and you get a substitution, and Angel City, they this season they're like we ain't playing no more, and the patience I think has waned upstairs, and so you end up with the result that you got, and it was a really cool moment for someone who has gone through a boatload of stuff to finally come back out the other side and get the reception that she got.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was really cool. That was a really cool moment this weekend. And what you're looking for really is, I just want progression. It's fantastic that they have figured out, okay, now let's figure out, how many, if Savvy King can give you just under 30, work to 45. And then from there, from Savvy King, can she start and give you 45 and then give you 60? But just after everything that Savvy King has gone through, and now she is coming out the other side, to see her step onto the pitch this past weekend for Angel City and give you 27 in a blowout win against Chicago, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, her last appearance was back May 9th. Atlanta United even had won a home game before that. So, good for them. But I think for Savvy, this, as you said, it's just nice to see her back after suffering a cardiac event on the field, which is just scary, right? I think she is by no means an old person. She's 21, 22. She's very young, right? And, that age, college age kid, right? Thinking, I'm a star athlete making professional debuts everywhere, and all of a sudden you're collapsed with a heart problem. It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
She's back, and that's really cool. And I think most importantly, back in the first game of the season, right? I think it's not something that, okay, yes, they're going to work her back. That's great. But the fact that she was ready to go to play on day one is really important for Angel City, but also important for her as she continues to grow and find her fitness again. Because again, I think what people never want to talk about with injuries, and especially something like this, it's not about recovering from the injury. It's also about the fact that you've lost. I mean, I don't even know how long she was out before she could train again, right? I mean, months of that fitness, and it is hard to get that back up, especially get it back to the level you need. So for her to get 27-ish minutes is really big, because that's a good chunk of minutes. That is a legitimate, hey, we need you as a sub to come into this game, not okay, well, you're ready to play, so here's 5 minutes at the end of the game. So for her, that's the best sign. And props to Angel City for getting her back on the field. I will say, John, about Angel City, yes, they have to stop being influencer FC and actually win games.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if this is indicative of anything other than Chicago might still be really bad.
Yeah.
So I think let's wait till week 2 a little bit to make those grand statements about Angel City. But I think that's still a big thing for Angel City to get off the mark with a very emphatic win. Because again, they have been I thought y'all was supposed to be good type of team for a while now. And this might be the year that you might need them to actually be good. They have AFC next week, a Cali Classico of sorts, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Last week,
technically 1 or 2 in the table, which it's
Marquee
week 1. Who cares?
Hey, it's early. It's week 1, week 2, and it's a Classico. Last week, the NWSL announced an official change to their protocols defining, quote, a serious injury, in quotation marks, as a condition that, quote, significantly incapacitates or otherwise poses an immediate and significant health risk to the individual, such as a heart attack or cardiac arrest, a seizure episode, or a severe and traumatic physical injury, e.g. open compound fracture or spine injury with potential paralysis, end quote. In such cases, the league maintains its case-by-case discretion to postpone or reschedule a game or to declare it final if enough minutes have been played. Savvy King, by the way, has also leveraged her experience, according to Tamara Griffin at The Athletic, announcing her nonprofit Savvy Kings of Hearts in November to raise awareness about CPR and expand access to heart screenings. The organization's also partnered with the NWSL to administer CPR training to all 16 teams in the league. So that's very, very cool there. During the week, the weekend that was, Portland beat Washington Spirit, and someone stormed back for her first appearance after being a mom. So she's back. Sophia Wilson's back. So 1-0 for Portland, knocking off the Spirit. Gotham beat Boston in Foxborough in front of, probably 2 or 3 crowds worth of Revolution games. 30, I think it was 33,000 at Foxborough, Boston and Gotham. By the way, sidebar, tomorrow, 3 o'clock at the Citi Field press conference room, Gotham is making a major announcement at Citi, and they're joining with the New York Mets for, quote, an exciting announcement, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And so
are they going to make them play in Citi Field?
I don't know. It's sight lines and not regulation size, but we'll wait for tomorrow afternoon at 3 to find out what that is. Kansas City Current keeps Kansas City currenting. They knock off Utah 2-1. Bay beat Denver at PayPal Park 2-1. Courage over Racing Louisville 2-1. Dash over the Wave 1-0. Seattle over Orlando 2-1. And we mentioned Angel City really just making sure that Chicago was reminded that there's some stuff that Chicago's got to work on in that one. It was Fuller getting the goal in the first half, and then 3 goals in 17 minutes. Shores, Borges, and Mayara Nihus scoring within 2 minutes of each other. I think that's an 8. It might be a 6. I think it's a 6. It might be a 6. So either 2 minutes or 4 minutes. The 66 or the 68, and then Nihus scores in the 70th. 4 on the board for Angel City. They get the big win at BMO on the weekend. Cards and calls.
We had a couple in this Atlanta United match.
Yeah, and there was one moment, and this has also been a universal kind of a thing because it was looked at in the Premier League this past weekend about the tug of the jersey. And I wanted to discuss this with you because apparently there was a missive, directive, whatever you want to call it, that if a tug of the jersey happens inside the box, it's supposed to be a penalty. And like literally, tug. And you saw, and in the Premier League, we had a couple of moments where you got to see, 3 or 4 inches worth of separation from the dry fit and the body of the individual because someone was pulling. And you saw that in Atlanta and Philly. Can you please, sir, sir, for my only positive in that sentence, break down what we're supposed to be looking at here and what you are looking at in these situations?
So I think the word they used was extended, right? Or prolonged. I'm forgetting which word that means for a period of time longer than a little bit.
Okay.
And look, I think people are going to look at this possible foul on Stian Gregerson, I think is what we're talking about here in this Atlanta United game.
Right.
And go, oh, that should be a penalty kick. And I think what the referee's looking at, especially under VAR, because again, this was not called on the field. This was something that they sent to VAR.
Right.
Was that a clear and obvious error that the defender held the jersey for an extended period of time, for a prolonged period of time? And you can slow it down, right? And so that makes it seem like it's longer. The reality is, I don't think this was a prolonged period of time. Does that make sense? It seemed like there is a grab the jersey, sure. And the thing is, we all know that happens. We just don't want them to be, like a dog on a leash calling, you got that retractable leash and you go, no, come back.
Yeah.
I think that this was he's getting away from me. And there was a very clear release. It was not continuing to hold on while the player ran past him necessarily. There was a separation. He released it. I think Gregerson probably was still within his own power to make any sort of play on that ball. But, I think he was also somewhat right to try to embellish that once he knew he wasn't fully able to get there. And again, this was a VAR check. So the referee on the field made the final determination. He said, no, that's not really what we're looking for. I would also say it's early days, making sure we do iron out, is this what we're looking for or not? These referees do go through training throughout, or reviews throughout the season, and they'll have additional training on this. So as they stockpile relevant examples, they might be able to say, okay, now this actually was something. But I don't think this is one of those examples of, oh, this should have been a penalty kick, because again, the referee is able to look at this and say, okay, yes, I understand you think there was. Great. Thank you. Let me go look at it. Not really. You slow it down. It looks bad, but at real speed, yeah, there's a tug, but he lets go. And I don't think there's anything really problematic here.
Well, and a couple of points. Obviously, when you slow things down, you take away the real time element of the whole thing. And just because if you slow something down to 4x speed, if you go back to just play it in real time, then that pull or extension is literally just like a yank and go.
Yeah.
It's not something where it's just like prolonged and it's like, I'm going to hang on to you and no, you're not going to go chasing after that car's back bumper kind of a thing, to take your analogy.
Right.
Well, and Marcus de Oliveira, who was the man in the middle for this one, he stuck with his original call. And I was wondering as I was listening to the match, you mentioned clear and obvious. Yes, that's a number one. And then then you're getting to the point of, okay, this is something that I think you need to look at. And that's, you're dangerously close in that VAR to re-refereeing a situation, which is not what VAR is for. But we almost had an incident where it was turning in that direction. I think it was Kevin Stott who was upstairs. But anyway, the VAR who was upstairs was on the verge of sending this down that road of re-refereeing a situation where de Oliveira was comfortable with the decision that he made.
Well, and I do think, again, this might be part of that learning process, real-time learning of, okay, is this something we need to trigger for VAR review, right? And maybe it is. Maybe this is the protocol of like, hey, we did see a Georgie tug in the penalty area during an attacking, especially on set pieces. I think that's probably where we're going to see a lot of this, right? As I drink out of an Arsenal mug. And so I do think maybe this was I don't want to say a lower standard, John, but a standard of like, maybe this is something, is this where we need to look at it? Yeah. And I hope, again, this is a continuing education opportunity for everyone involved. And again, maybe it is hey, you know what? Good for triggering what we have been said to look, what we told you to look for. But this probably isn't to that level. And maybe in the future we don't see it. Or maybe the on-field referee, de Oliveira, gets the feedback of saying, actually, yeah, this is what we're looking for. We do want this to be called. I don't think that'll be the case, because I don't think this is he kept him from running, because I don't think that was I don't think that was the case here. But I am curious if this is something that evolves as the season goes on, because we're in week 4. How many of these have we really had that needed to be checked? And I think the other thing to really think about here, John, this was, I think, put to review because Gregerson was directly involved with the play. If this were, I don't know, one of the guys on the back post, I don't think you're looking at it, because that's the other thing we do need to take in consideration is, especially on set pieces, things happen. Lots of things happen. Whether they actually impact the play or not are different things. Now, obviously, there's a level of violent conduct, serious foul play, that kind of stuff. But like a little tugging and pulling and hand holding and other things, it's going to happen. If it doesn't affect the play, why are we getting having problems with it.
To that effect, my last question for you this go round has to do with whistle fatigue. And when it comes to going up against teams that like to muck it up, they like to sit there and slow things down. They want to push the envelope. They want to see where your limits are. They want to sit there and go, okay, I'll foul. No, you foul. Here's your turn. Here's your turn. Here's your fouls. Here, I mean, literally, there were games in MLS Next Pro this past weekend that had 42 fouls called, and I was like, you've got to be blanking kidding me with this. Is there ever a point where, and this is, probably just discussions that you may have with friends and those who are calling, college and above, do you ever get whistle fatigue? It's like, man, here they go again. I'm tired of blowing my whistle. And then you just stop because you're tired of blowing the whistle because you're afraid of slowing the game down, which is what the opponent of a particular team is wanting to happen in the first place. Do you guys ever get whistle fatigue, and how do you handle that?
Well, I think yes. The answer is yes, but also this is where we talk a lot about like a little bit adapting to the game in front of you, right? And at 42 fouls, that's, if you split it even, 21 of a team, it's a lot of fouls to commit by a team. And I would wonder, well, are you giving out yellow cards? Because there's no way that a team commits 21 total fouls and there wasn't at least 2 for persistent infringement.
I'm trying to find the game that I saw it in. Hang on just a second, and I will tell you. So, statistics. Where is it? Well, okay. Well, one of them, Carolina Core and OCB had 27 fouls called, 21 of them on Core, and there were 5 yellows issued in those 21 fouls. That was not the game I was thinking of, but it's in this system. I will find it and we will talk about it.
I mean, we know how Carolina Core likes to.
Yes. Yeah, they like to push buttons. They like to sit there and it's like, here's what we're doing. Here's what I'm doing. And
this is an interesting, John, as you look that up, I'll vamp a little bit. Because I think this is an interesting look into the different types of perspectives of different MLS Next Pro teams. Obviously, Carolina Core is not affiliated with a pro team in that way.
Right.
Whereas, you have Atlanta and Huntsville that we would see a lot of that are. And, they're trying to not just prepare kids to be actual professional players, but a lot of that is also like, well, we're trying to instill the way that the first team plays at the second team. There's also the, we need a guy to, get some refresh minutes, so we're putting him down at the 2s, or this kid isn't quite playing a lot for the first team, so we're putting him down there. And so I think for them, they're not looking to create a lot of foul moments because that creates danger for the players on the field. Whereas Carolina Core ain't got that problem. They're not trying to push a player up to the top team, and they're trying to win at all costs. So it's just interesting.
Found it.
Okay.
And I know this will shock you. Philadelphia Union 2 and
yeah. Okay, continue.
But so 42 fouls called, 24 on Union 2, 18 on Connecticut United, 3 yellows on 24 fouls for Philadelphia, 3 on 18 for Connecticut. 3 on 24. And 3 on 18.
And they had a red card for Philly.
Yeah.
Look, as I say, anytime we have a training video in our U.S. soccer referee training and there's an incident of serious foul play and or violent conduct, somehow Philly's mostly involved. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
But, look, there were... Oh, that was a second yellow card, red card even, too. Okay.
Yeah.
I would have to go watch this, but I mean... a decent enough yellow cards to be given out, to be honest, for what that looks like. Now, I would wonder if those were single foul incidents or if they were persistent infringement.
Okay. So
personally, for me,
yeah,
and most referees are like this as well. Once you get to your third foul, I can either book you then, or you're getting the 1, 2, 3, we're done. That does feel like a high bar, but when you're talking 20 some fouls, 24 on one team, and you only have 11 players on a field at a time, someone had to have committed 3 fouls.
I mean,
and so I do think that if, as a referee, when we're feeling like, oh, there's a lot of fouls coming, sometimes you could just give a yellow card because the game needs it, right? And hey, that was your 3rd foul, or that was even your 2nd foul, but that one was really harsh. And I kind of maybe talked to you. Maybe you had an incident where you had a harsh foul and you let the player go the first time. 2nd time, I had one this weekend where probably should have given a yellow card to a kid for stopping a promising attack. But at this age that I was refereeing, for me, stopping a promising attack still needs to have some level of understanding of what you're doing. And a lot of these times it's this, a kid fouls a guy because they ran past him and they're mad that they fouled him.
There you go.
Should have given him a yellow card.
Yes.
Did not.
Yeah.
Next, about 10 minutes later, he committed a foul. And it was a pretty reckless foul, but it wasn't itself a yellow card worthy. And I was like, oh, I remember you. Here's your yellow card. You have earned it. And that was only 2 fouls. I don't think he had another foul really the rest of the game. You're allowed to give those types of cards because, again, unsporting behavior is what we normally file this under. That's a catch-all for a lot of things. And I think if you're making the sport unsporting, Philadelphia, then you're going to get into that. I mean, look, Atlanta United beat a team that doesn't play soccer because we know that's how Philadelphia does their soccering. They don't really focus on that. Right. And the Union 2 are similar. That it's how they grow them up there in southeast Pennsylvania. I don't know what's in the water of the Susquehanna and the Delaware, but it's something that makes them boys feisty. Maybe it's the adjacency to Jersey. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but something in that water over there makes them foul a lot.
All right. So what's going on with SoccerForUSPod? We had another episode come out over the weekend.
We had a drop over the weekend. We reviewed the USMNT's She Believes Cup victory, John, because we all care about hoisting a trophy at the end of a 3-friendly series. But we do look at this going, okay, we actually have tangible, usable data, right? For the first time this year, and really for the first time in, well, maybe even since last She Believes Cup, certainly since last, whatever that May, June window was last year when we had our big European players in as well. But it was finally time to say, okay, Emma's been experimenting a lot, bringing a lot of players in. It feels like we maybe have some clarity on Emma's preferred 26 even.
Right.
Talk specifically about some position battles, goalkeeper, left back. So that is what we get to get into with Bridget Swartwood from the Our Home Ground podcast.
There you go. And so that is your required reading. And then I guess your homework for next week is Philadelphia Union 2 and Connecticut United for time.
I'll have to watch. Yeah, you're making me watch these MLS NEXT Pro games, John. I'm not happy about it.
Hey, it's all about learning and making sure.
Which, by the way, tried to watch the Atlanta United 2 games last week, right?
Yeah.
Did not know that they had changed broadcast providers, so I'm the dumb one. I was like looking for it on Apple TV, like, oh, where can I watch this? And I'm like, what in the world?
Easiest thing to do is just to go to YouTube because they're there in addition to OneFootball,
and that's what I ended up doing,
and MLS and MLSsoccer.com. And so, what we are requesting folks do is sync up the broadcast. You can sync up the broadcast with our call and their video. Kind of like what we do with Major League Soccer with Mike and Jason. You can do that with NEXT Pro with us. And so sync up the broadcasts when they are up and running. As always, my friend, it's great to have you kick off the week and explain things to us as you always do. And we will catch up with you again next week or whenever there's news that breaks and you have to fix it. So it's always good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you all. Have a wonderful Monday. Congrats to Atlanta United for not being the worst team in the league right now. We did it.
Oh, man, dropping bombs. There goes Bart. So there you go. Wow. Okay. I promised we got to get into the twos. We'll get into the twos here in a sec, but we got to get into this John Textor stuff. And I know that it is, it's a pain in the butt, and it is. It is a pain in the butt, but it's stuff that we have to understand, and we have to know is out there with everything that is attached to our friend John Textor. From eGlobo, basically globo.com. Botafogo racing against time to pay off a portion of its debt for Almada and avoid another transfer ban. Leticia Marquez in Rio, and this happened before we came on the air this morning. Club has until today to pay the second installment of the debt for the signing of Thiago Almada. Botafogo is close to signing left-back Caio Roque, and so behind the scenes meeting in the locker room after the defeat to Flamengo attempts to quell an internal crisis. And so last month, remember, Botafogo reached an agreement with Atlanta United, managed to pay off the debt in installments, or at least agreed to it, so the transfer ban could be lifted that was put in place on New Year's Eve. They paid $10 million as the first installment, and then were free then to register new players during the transfer window. According to GE, meaning GE Globo, the agreement includes 4 more installments of $5 million each. The second installment agreed upon for the first half of March, which is basically today. If there is a delay, Atlanta notifies FIFA, Botafogo gets a new transfer ban. So Atlanta is still owed $20 million. So 4 more installments from Botafogo, $5 million each. Behind the scenes, according to Leticia Marquez at Globo, the talk is one of concern due to Botafogo's financial situation. Tell me if you've heard this before. Sources reported that there are not enough funds in the club's coffers to pay this installment, and there is also concern about monthly expenses in the coming months. Internally, Botafogo is already working with the scenario that a new transfer ban is on the horizon. Besides Almada, whose signing was the only one that resulted in a FIFA punishment, negotiations for Luis Enrique, Barrera, and Montoro are also causing concern. Real Betis, Junior Barranquilla out of Colombia, and Vélez Sarsfield have already expressed dissatisfaction due to payment delays. 21 plus 9 was the number. Transfer ban for Botafogo. Negotiations for the payment extended till February 6th. That was when the agreement was reached. And so now, if something doesn't happen today, Botafogo is again in arrears. So now, what happens? Well, we know what happens with Botafogo. If nothing happens today, and I'm guessing that we're talking end of business. End of business today, if nothing happens, then Atlanta United, who probably has FIFA on speed dial right now, then you're looking at folks and going, Botafogo hadn't paid us. They still owe us 20. I wonder what the compounding interest of that is. And so going from there, what are the next steps? Like I said, I wonder what the interest is on something like this, because if you're on your last nerve with somebody, they're probably just and the way that we have seen Eagle Football Holdings / John Textor operate, basically you get to the end of it, and then you sit there and agree. It's like you get to the point of needing to get something done, and then you agree just so you can sign the paper. Well, okay, so I need the 8 cars in your garage. I need your 3 homes and all this kind of stuff. Okay, here, I'll sign. So that might be where we are at this point, because you're $20 million in the hole to Atlanta United, once again, plus interest. So it might be 24, 25 with interest. Knowing the interest rates that we've seen in the past involving John Textor, you're probably staring at something, at least 22, adding another 10% or whatever. Compounded, however. So, to Michael Head's point in the Twitch pitch, I am hoping that folks are learning not to do business with him. But you can sit there and say, you're probably robbing Peter to pay Paul, like he was doing or like he wanted to do with Lyon and their debt to keep them from being completely and totally relegated and blown out to the third division. Hey, what if I use Botafogo funds to help pay Lyon's debt off? No, fam, that's not how this works. He was trying to slide from one section of the balance sheet to the other a year and a half ago. So what does John Textor do if that next installment of $5 million US does not happen by the end of business? We will see. But right now, $20 million plus interest. Clock is going, and you have until what? Hour and 15. You got about another 6 hours and 14 minutes before the end of business to figure it out. And I figure that the front office probably has one particular dedicated phone line to phone calls and or virtual business opportunities. So keep an eye on the next 6 hours and 15 minutes and set your sources and keep an ear out. So we'll find out what the deal is. And if anyone, and I mean anyone, and that goes to literally, if you are trying to do business in South America and you are trying to, hang on, hydration, hang on. So you're looking at 4 teams that are pissed off at you right now. Betis, Barranquilla, and the fourth one is Vélez Sarsfield and Atlanta United. Atlanta United is probably your largest debtor. But if you are angering folks in the if you are angering folks in the theater where your matches are seen, you are seen in competition, and you are trying to compete and have transfers to help your team out, why does anyone want to do business with you ever again? And think of how many different entities we have discussed where John Textor / Eagle Football Holdings has had to go to basically the holding company equivalent of your payday loan guys, get the massive interest rate from all of these funds and management companies and stuff like that. He's had to do this to how many different doors? And everything that he owes Aries right now, just as an example. And I mean, we know what is owed to Atlanta United. Then you get into the discussions, and this is basically a month ago, where Aries, who had loaned 3 separate tranches, basically $500 billion, $500 billion, my bad, move the decimal 3, $500 billion, 3 separate tranches, and the interest rate was like 18% for $500 million. Then a month ago, Aries sought to have half of that as Lyon debt is marked at 32 cents. So this goes to TradingView back a month ago, and I've had this basically saved in my phone because of all of this that we're talking about now, as an example of one of the largest debtors. You thought that owing Atlanta United 20 plus 2 in interest they're the biggest team that is a debtor to EFH right now, I would think. But then having to borrow all this money against your resources, all this kind of stuff, and Aries had $500 million at like 18%, 3 separate tranches. Aries was seeking to recover $250 million in outstanding loans, potentially through a sale of Lyon or by taking control of the club. Situation suggests that what began as one of Aries' early marquee investments in European football could now evolve into a more direct restructuring scenario. Eagle acquired Lyon, $800 million in 2022, back more than $450 million in financing from Aries. This is what we were talking about. While the asset manager has already recouped more than $200 million of its initial loan by Eagles' sale of Crystal Palace to Woody Johnson, we talked about that. Basically, most of those funds went from that sale straight to Aries. Filings show the remaining debt was recently marked down to roughly 32 cents on the dollar. People familiar with the matter say Aries has grown increasingly frustrated over what it views as multiple covenant breaches. Sound familiar? Though Textor disputes that characterization and maintains there have been no events of default, adding that Aries signed off on Eagles' audited financials. Aries has said it will continue to defend its position through legal channels. The broader backdrop, according to TradingView, is instructive. Aries launched a $3.7 billion sports media entertainment fund in 2022 and has backed Atletico de Madrid and Chelsea, underscoring the scale of institutional capital flowing into global football. Yet precedent shows lenders can end up owning major teams when financing structures come under strain. Elliott took control of AC Milan in 2018 after debt went unpaid. Oaktree assumed control of Inter Milan in 2024 under similar circumstances. For investors, the dispute around Eagle could serve as a reminder that while football assets may offer global brand appeal, the leverage underpinning them can introduce meaningful execution risk. And I think that is probably true in this case. Pedro Neto has escaped a ban, by the way, only warned for pushing the ball boy against PSG. That just came out. But the larger points, once again, you go down that road, and people that have thrown a lot of money into something where they were helping you at the time, it's going to end up as theirs. It's going to end up as theirs. Whoever they are, it's going to end up as theirs. And I think that the time of Eagle Football Holdings as Eagle Football Holdings / John Textor, it's going to be Eagle Football Holdings owned by Aries Management and other folks. If anybody is doing business with him, this should be your big blanking lesson. This should be your big lesson. So keep an eye on this one where it impacts Atlanta United once again. 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 minutes. 6 hours and 8 minutes as we're talking to the end of business today. See what happens. Now, back to like cooler things, like the Twos. We mentioned the Twos getting their win once again, second home win in a row. They had it last night, and it was a big win against Huntsville City Football Club. We do have highlights, by the way, and we will run said highlights. Maddie on the call here on the SDH network, and it was an opportunity down 1-0 to come back for an equalizer. It was a deflection that got past John O'Ransom early on that made it 1-0. Here's your equalizer, courtesy of us and MLS NEXT Pro.
He'll dribble down, finds Chica. Chica right at the corner on the right side of the 18. Brennan leaves it out for Gill. Gill stepping forward. It's still in play inside the 18. Gill leaves it for Lowe. Dunbar, low range shot, finds the back of the net from Butts. Atlanta United to find the equalizer as it's sent in from Gill, and Dunbar leaves it. It's a shot from inside the 18, and as it takes a couple of a weird slow run, Butts is right there to collect right at the far post, and he taps it in. 1-1.
1-1 at that point for Atlanta United 2, and that would be the score after 45 minutes. Second half was all Atlanta United 2. And for that, once again, 3 goals on the board for the Twos. And once again, thanks to everybody that has been going and has reoriented their schedules to the Turner Soccer Complex on the campus of the University of Georgia and looking at what has happened with them. You get Atlanta United 2 with another goal on the board to make it 2-1 early second half, and this would start the Avalanche once again, courtesy of us. I think it was we're going to play goals 2, 3, and 4 here. But anyway, Luke Brennan scores, and that puts another goal on the board for Atlanta United 2.
Ooh, that was chaotic. That ball falls to Dominic Chonqui. He'll settle it. Huntsville trying to come away with it. Stabbed away by Aiden Torres. Dominic comes away. He'll find Brennan. Brennan driving inside the 18. Brennan holding things up. Low range shot from outside. Luke Brennan! United 2. Luke Brennan is able to intercept it in the middle of the attacking third. He collects, he waits a couple of seconds, looks for the opening, and then he's able to slot it home with the right foot. Right pats McKay. 2-1 for the Twos.
2-1 for the Twos. 57th minute. 5 minutes later, Liam Butts gets his brace. Here's your brace once again, making it 3-1 with 30 minutes to go. Maddie on the call here on the SDH Network.
Dominic Chunkwee driving inside the 18. Dominic lays it out to Dunbar on the left. Dunbar, low shot, look for the cross. Butts again! The quick play as it starts with Dominic Chunkwee driving to the 18. He lays it out to the left to Cameron Dunbar. Dunbar with the cross connects to a wide open Liam Butts at the far post. He slots it right up into the goal. 3-1 Atlanta United 2.
They weren't done. They'd score again. 86th minute, they were up 3-1. Cristiano scores in the 14th. Butts, Brennan, and Butts gets us to the 86th minute. Subs coming in. Enzo Dovlo gets on the score sheet for the final goal of the night. 4-1 for the Twos, once again, courtesy of us.
He'll leave it to Meningas. Stepping forward, able to win it back is Moises Tablante. He'll leave it off for Arif Kovac, driving inside. Kovac in the attacking third. He'll leave it for Dovlo. Dovlo, low-range shot, finds the back of the net. Enzo Dovlo with his first goal for Atlanta United 2.
And that would be 4-1 and your final. Two's getting a win. Second match at home for them this season. So big win for Atlanta United 2. Stats on the night. Shots 19-14 for the Twos, 8-3 on target. And 26 fouls, 13 called on each side. Passing accuracy, 80% for the Twos, 88% for Huntsville City. And cards on the night. Williams, Veliz Rodriguez, and Brunet for Huntsville City. Matthew Sananu gets one in the 78th for Atlanta United 2. Starting lineup for Atlanta United 2. John O'Ransom in net wearing the captain's armband. Back line, Chonqui, Toto Majub, Sananu, and Daniel Chica. Midfield, Adrian Gill. Jay Fortune played 45 minutes. We'll get into Jay Fortune here in a second. Aiden Torres came in for the second 45. Santi Pita started. Enzo Dovlo came in for the final 20. Along as a part of a triple change that involved Luke Brennan and Liam Butts. Tablante came in and Arif Kovac came in for the 20 along with Enzo Dovlo. Cameron Dunbar started. Didi Cibrian came in for the final 8+ minutes. Seif Akiesi, Ignacio Suarez Curry, James Donaldson, and Mohamed Cisse, who is still trying to get back to full song, were on the bench for the Twos in that matchup. So biggest note other than the scoreline. First time that we got minutes from Jay Fortune. Broken foot suffered in May of 2025. And if you still are raising an evil eyebrow at Hervé Renard and how they were playing for Saudi Arabia against Trinidad and Tobago, it's understandable. But Jay Fortune, first time back in more than 9 months. First time with his action on the field. And here was him catching up with Maddie after the match, courtesy of the Twos themselves.
We'll start first thing. I mean, how you feeling? You got first 45 and getting back on the pitch. What are you feeling right now?
Good. It's been a very long time. I think around 10 months or so. So first time playing in an official game, and it took a minute for the legs to get going. But once everything felt right and felt natural, just really started to enjoy it and trying to enjoy the moment as much as possible.
Especially to coming back playing these tournaments, we knew, especially with Papa saying it in media too, for you. I mean, the journey getting back here. I mean, what has it been like for you, especially to finally get this moment to then get some minutes back in the professional?
Yeah, I think yes, anybody in any long-term injury, it's not easy. It had a lot of days where didn't want to show up, didn't want to do the work, but luckily I have a great support staff around me, family, staff, teammates, which helped along the way. And one thing I'll say is like when I showed up here, the people that I was working with, they always brought a good energy and good vibes, which allowed for me to enjoy the work that I was doing. And there were days where simple movements were difficult to do at times, and now to be able to go out and play and work hard and run around and do the gritty work is things that you miss when you've been out for a while.
Talk about the combo, especially in the midfield, you and Adrian as well, connecting all those outs, especially with Pita too in the match today. What did you see, especially in the midfield, especially with those pairings as well, and getting forward and breaking down Huntsville?
Yeah, trained with Adrian a little bit since I've been back. We've just been on similar teams in training and stuff, and two midfielders that like to try and get on the ball and like to try and look for each other as often as possible. And I think we were able to find each other at times, and at the same time to allow each other to do what each other are capable of in right moments. And I think he did really well tonight. And as well as Peter, he's a guy who likes to get forward, be in attacking spaces, and it's my job at times to try and find those guys in those spaces and let them be free and do what they want to do. So I think it was great to be able to pair up with those guys in the middle of the field today, and glad that we were able to get the win.
Jay Fortune back for the first time in a very long time. It's great to see him getting minutes as a part of Atlanta United, helping out the Twos in the first half with their matchup against Huntsville City Football Club, and they get the win 4-1 by the end of it. Now, Eastern Conference standings, Atlanta right now is in third, 2-0-1 right now, and they are behind Red Bulls 2 in goals scored by 1 goal, 8-7, and they're ahead of the Revs 2 in goals scored by 7-3. And so right now, Atlanta United, third in the Eastern Conference after 3 matches, 7 points with a record of 2-0-1. So next up for Atlanta United 2 in our work is the matchup at Crown Legacy. They're going to be at Crown Legacy taking on the team at Matthews, and that's going to be on Sunday, and that is going to be once again a 7:02-ish kick here on the network. Pregame at 6:30. We'll take you through everything that has been going on during the week and get you ready for the weekend. A lot of games going on, obviously. Sunday, the very, very busy day for MLS NEXT Pro and Atlanta United 2 on the road to Crown Legacy, and we'll catch up with Jose Silva late in the week, and we will have that ready for you for the pregame show once again on Sunday night at 6:30 here on the network, and the Twos taking on Crown Legacy. Early regular season marker in the Eastern Conference. And that, once again, 6:30 pregame, 7:02-ish kick on the network from the Sportsplex at Matthews, and we'll have that one for you here on the SDH Network. So like, subscribe, let us know what's going on in your mind, and we will always have all that stuff ready for you as we go. Now, today, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it is brought to us by our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It helps them out. It helps you out. It helps us out. Adds to your streaming services and all of the matches that you're currently watching as we go. And you get to get a lot of the activity in South America. It is Argentina. It is Paraguay. It is Bolivia. It is Peru with Liga 1 Max Pro. You can catch up with all of that. And we'll have our buddy Nino Torres discussing that on Thursday as well when it comes to everything that Nino Damas has in mind. I have to remind him, by the way, that he is still that he is still an hour behind us, and he's got to think an hour earlier when it comes to the time of day when he gets to catch up with us. But you get a lot of the South American leagues, A and B divisions, so championship and second division in South America. You can add TV if you wish. If you have a certain cable system here in the southeastern United States and you get the Spanish package, then TV is already there. But if you want TV, you can get that on Fanati's as an add-on to what you already would have with everything on Fanati's. So with all the BNs, you get AFCON, you get all of the activity that they put on. You have the French League, you have the Polish League, you have the Turkish League, you have TSA out of Argentina and all of their great coverage with everything. So adding Fanati's, CDO, all of that. Tigo Sports, Copa Argentina, it's all there. At Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. Now, what to watch today? Speaking of the Polish League, 2 o'clock on BN, simulcast on BN and Espanol. Brentford and Wolves is at 4 o'clock on USA. ESPN Deportes has La Liga at 4 o'clock, and Fox Deportes has Serie A at 3:45. Cremonese, Jamie Vardy, and Fiorentina. ESPN Plus simulcasting the La Liga match. Fox O&E simulcasting the Serie A match. Paramount Plus has the Serie A match, and also on the championship, it is Portsmouth and Derby County. That is at 4 o'clock. Serie A on Femeninas, it is Sassuolo and Inter. That was this morning at 7. So I missed it, but it was on. So that's your rundown of anything and everything going on of what to watch today. Let me get into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here. And the playoff schedule. Thank you, Ricky. So MLS Soccer has announced the postseason playoff schedule. It exists. We now have key dates. 4 match weeks in, and we have our key dates. Wildcard matches Wednesday, November 18th. Round 1 best of 3 goes from the 20th to December 2nd. Semifinals are on Saturday and Sunday, the 5th and 6th. Conference finals, the 11th and 12th. MLS Cup presented by Audi is Friday, December 18th. And every game is going to be on Apple. So that is that's your rundown. So playoffs start wildcard midweek, Wednesday, November 18th. So keep an eye on that. But that's the first marker in your schedule, and we'll keep an eye on that as we go. So Real Madrid once again trying to make the move for Michael Olise. Your trending rumors: Florentino Perez planning a major move to sign him in the summer. Bundesliga leaders don't want to let him go, according to Bild. Contract runs through 29, does not include a release clause. Liverpool also want Olise as they look for a successor to Mo Salah, who could be leaving for the league we don't talk about. Arsenal had little intention of letting Calafiori leave in the summer, despite the defender being the topic of interest from Inter, AC Milan, Juve, and Napoli. Gunners fully committed to the 23-year-old, settled in North London, not actively looking to leave. Interest from Chelsea has been reported. Calafiori joining the club is seen as highly unlikely. Chelsea lining up a move to sign Ryan Messi from Strasbourg, with the winger on loan from Neom. Bayern Munich, Barca, PSG have also inquired about the 18-year-old, but Blueco, one of Chelsea's holding company, don't want to see him leave their multi-club network. Plan had originally been for Messi, not that Messi, but this one, to be integrated into Strasbourg's first team next year before heading to Stamford Bridge, but now that plan is being reviewed. AC Milan and Inter among the clubs trying to compete with Arsenal to sign Leon Goretzka as a free agent when the Bayern midfielder's contract expires this summer, according to Calcio Mercato. Milan have already initiated contact with the entourage. That's how it's phrased, with his entourage. Inter hoping to complete a move that would be similar to the ones they had previously completed for Hakan Çalhanoğlu and Henrik Mkhitaryan. If so, Arsenal are in the front runners to complete a deal. Marseille want to sign Jonathan David in the summer if they qualify for Champions League but face competition from the Premier League. David would reject any offer from Lyon due to Paulo Fonseca being in charge of Legon. The 26-year-old has been fascinated by the idea of playing in the Premier League. Forest, Spurs, and West Ham all made attempts to sign him in January. City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leipzig, Dortmund, and La Liga clubs monitoring Lewis Hall from Newcastle. Crystal Palace and Leeds both want Big Pat. Manchester City could sign Pedro Porro for significantly less than his £70 million valuation. Inter and AC Milan both seriously considering a move for Nathan Ake. Newcastle could accelerate their plans to renew Kieran Trippier's deal amid fears Tino Livramento could move to Manchester City. Various clubs from England and Europe, that's rather specific, have contacted Liverpool about signing keeper Georgi Mamadashvili permanently or on loan. Rocco Reitz joining Leipzig from Borussia Mönchengladbach for €20 million plus another 3 possible in bonuses. Juve and Dusan Vlahovic rapidly moving toward a new contract. Striker's current deal set to expire at the end of the year. Feyenoord and Wolves speaking to Bournemouth about signing Max Aarons at the end of the year. Porto are also interested in the right back on loan at Rangers. That's the early go-round of everything. That is the early go-round of everything, folks. That's a very, very busy Reaction Monday. So there was a lot to react to. Let me see who is here this morning so we can all sit there and say hi. And I can thank all of you for hanging out once again. Remember tonight, 8 o'clock, it is Soccer Over There. We'll discuss Premier League. We'll discuss everything else going on. And we'll have picks of the week once again at 9 o'clock. And anybody should be doing better than me. 1 for 8. And if somebody can find the number of fouls in the Uzbek Super Cup, I'd appreciate it. I know they had 2 yellows, but I don't know how many fouls. Morning, OG. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Abby. Morning, David. Yeah, literally, David. Anything involving Eagle Football Holdings, it's either cash on delivery or give me a player. I'm at that point. I need folks to get to the next level. I need young players. I need U22s. That's what I need. I need U22s. Yeah, and Abby, I mean, the 18th for MLS Cup Final, they're trying to get an audience. They're not trying to compete with bowl games or anything. They want that night. How long have we all been saying here, own Friday night? You now get the opportunity to do it. Morning, Michael Head. Morning, Ropes. Morning, OG. Let's see. Who else? Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Rich. And I'm glad, Rich, we were able to kind of talk through and get the intel from you about what's going on with Philadelphia right now. It is not good. So let's see. Abby, Michael, Tommy. Let's see. Once again, there's Ricky. And let's see. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anybody. So let's see. Michael and Ricky and Abby was in early this morning, and a lot of you were in early this morning. It's always fun when we see everybody here. Morning, David, and morning, Ricky and Abby. All right, so there's a lot of folks that were in this morning, and we're glad you always are. So once again, tonight, 8 o'clock, soccer over there. It's great to go through everything with the twos, great to go through everything with the first team. Thanks to Abe, and thanks to Bart, and thanks to all of you for dropping by and hanging out with us as you always do here on SDH AM. Tomorrow, we are all over the place because it's time for our visit from Keeler Hodges. The USL Championship and League One have started. There is still no labor agreement. So we're going to get the latest from Keeler on that. KCD is going to come in because she had the Houston game and all 16 minutes of added time. So we will discuss Madi Bogish and what happened in Houston. The friends from Forest City, Cleveland are going to be dropping by. And they're going to break down what it's like for them to now be in MLS Next Pro. They're going to be starting next season. So Forest City, Cleveland is at 9:30. And then we've got a really interesting interview that's going to be with us to bat leadoff at 9:05. And it is, with everything going on with the World Cup, we are going to be looking at a bunch of different things to look at and consider. We're even going to be looking at the grass. I'm catching up with folks over at Michigan State University because apparently Michigan State is in charge of making sure that the grass is the grass and that it is going to stay in a grassy state for the entire time. And so we're going to catch up with the grassologists, for lack of a better word, at Mississippi State and at Michigan State, and we're find out about what's going on there. And so we're going to lead off tomorrow by talking about FanPath. And Karn Saxena, we've got to figure out, first off, where Karn actually is because Karn was in the Middle East, and I don't know if he's still there. So we'll find out about FanPath tomorrow. And it is a way to simulate travel costs, sharing costs, and experiencing as much as you want to dive into the World Cup. FanPath is a way to go about it. We're going to catch up with them and their ideas. They've got simulators and analytics and the whole thing. And if you're trying to get from point to point, or if you're trying to figure out what it's going to be for a particular market, we'll find out how FanPath lays that all out for you. And we're going to bat lead off with FanPath tomorrow. So it's FanPath and Karn Saxena. It is Forest City, Cleveland, and MLS Next Pro. It's Casey White tomorrow. It's Keeler Hodges tomorrow. And that'll get us rolling into the week. Tomorrow also, it is Lake Oconee Academy, and they're going to be our first games of the week. And so we're going to be out at Reynolds Plantation-ish. We're going to be out in Madison on Tuesday, and we are efforting 2 more matches on Thursday and Friday, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to be. And we know where we're trying to be, but when they're officially official, we'll let you know. But we're going to start off at Lake Oconee Academy on Tuesday night for a great single-A game, single-A matches on the boys and girls side, and that's going to be tomorrow. So tomorrow is stacked. Bunch of different things coming at us tomorrow. We'll go through all the news of the day as well. But once again, remember, tonight. Well, we're going to make it right. 8 o'clock. Soccer over there, picks of the week, all the things. We're going to take the tour. And thanks for hanging out with us, as you always do. Since it is the end of the show on yet another busy week, successful weekend for the first and the second team for Atlanta United, means we get to play this. See you tonight, 8 o'clock.